Hello guys, welcome to another video. It's been a while since I last updated on the channel, but today I bring another video. I was out of town, came back, and today I brought the bike out and I noticed a very strong gasoline smell. So before I traveled, I topped the tank all the way to the top. Then I closed the bike. It was quite cold, and today temperatures were in the 70s. And I noticed that very strong gasoline smell. Proceeded to inspect the bike, and if you look closely, you can notice some wetness around the cylinder, the fins, and if you look also around where you have the starter, there's also some wetness there, and it has a very strong gasoline smell. I looked closely, but I couldn't figure out exactly where all of that was coming from. I don't know if there was a leak in the injection system, or I had the system too full and the gasoline expanded with warmer temperatures, and the tank was too full and the pressure couldn't let go, and I had a little spill. Anyways, I looked hard and long and I couldn't find out where the leak was coming from. So I'm already above 500 miles. As you know, the first oil change should be done on this bike at about 300 miles, along with a verification of the valve clearances. And then from then, subsequently, it's every 3,000 miles. So I am way beyond the initial 300 miles. As you can see, I tried to figure out where everything was coming from. I could not find it out. So this is the oil I use. If you look closely, it has that marking JASO and MA2. So API SL, those are the markings that denote the quality of oil that you should use. There's two drain spots for the oil. The primary one is on the left, and when you drain the oil from there, actually that drain plug is on a housing cover, and you're supposed to pull that housing cover. There is a screen, a wire mesh screen inside there. You pull out the screen and see if there's any debris on the screen. But from what I have seen so far, nobody has actually had any debris on that screen, so I will skip that step. So mine was quite loose, actually. It wasn't tight at all, but when I took out that plug, I noticed it had some Loctite on the threads. I had the engine running for like 5 minutes prior, just to get the oil warm and ensure it flows out freely. As you can see, it's flowing there pretty good. I looked closely, I couldn't see any metal shavings, any flakes, or any of that stuff. So I am pretty happy with the quality of the oil so far. Nothing to worry about, I would say. There you have the copper washer, the crush washer, and then you have your plug. So you just let it sit for a little bit, and that will drain the oil out. Of course, once you're done, use a sharp rag and clean the washer and the plug. You can see that's the Loctite that was on the plug before. I didn't use any of that. I'll just make sure I keep an close watch on the plug. That way it doesn't rattle itself off the bike. Very careful when putting it back. I work in a very dusty environment, as you can see. You don't want little pieces of dirt
I start tomorrow
going in there, otherwise That
you're going to
will
Stanley now?
prevent you from having a tight
Shit.
seal, and it might lead to leakages
Uh,
down the road.
no, I don't want to hold you up. You're good. If you're going
So
again
you
later,
just get that
I'll
one
think this will take me about
untied,
15
and then
minutes
you
more.
move to the
Okay,
right
thanks. I
side of the
appreciate it.
bike where you have the
All
oil
right, I'm done
filter
with this
housing,
side,
and you have to open that also to take out the oil filter and swap it out. On this left side, I aided the process by leaning the bike towards me, and that helped to drain out the last few milliliters of oil in there. And then I just put that sheet of paper there to prevent the oil from getting on the skid plate. And that's the housing cover for the oil filter. It has a gasket, and then you have the oil filter. Those three bolts, the two on top are shorter, and then the one at the bottom is actually quite long. If you look at the side glass, you will notice it shows that the sump is empty. There's no longer any oil indicating on the side glass. It's quite a windy day, tricky to be filming with one hand and doing the oil change with the other. But it's absolutely doable. So once I got the first bolt loose, I noticed there was quite a bit of oil trying to seep out, and my exhaust was still quite warm. If you have your oil on a hot exhaust, you might end up having nasty discoloration, I think. I didn't want that to happen, so I prefer having the exhaust discolor itself in an even fashion. So the 2021 Royal Enfield Himalayans in the United States had quite an interesting delivery process. You first of all had to go online to the Royal Enfield North America website, place your order, and then the order would be routed to your local dealer. And I believe over a short period of time, the whole 2021 allocation for the Royal Enfield Himalayan was sold out. This seems to be by far their most popular model here in the United States. I'm not sure about the 650s, but I know for a fact the Himalayan is quite popular owing to its lightweight. People of a certain age, they're afraid to ride the GS models because those things, if you dump them on the trail and you're by yourself, good luck picking them up. So you mostly find the GS guys riding, two people riding two bikes. That way, in case one person gets in trouble, the other can help out. Whereas the Royal Enfield Himalayan, you can actually be out there in the boondocks all by yourself. So that's what the oil filter looks like. The part that's facing you should be closed, and then the part that goes towards the engine has an opening with a rubber gasket. It's a little tricky to pull out. And the Indian market actually accounts for more than 90% of Royal Enfield motorcycle sales. This year, they've had a serious slump in the sales numbers, whereas international markets, including Europe, Asia, North America, they've seen increasing sales. The volume is not as great as compared to the local market in India, but the year-over-year increase in sales numbers is quite interesting. So while the India market posted massive declines, the international markets, on the other hand, actually had interesting growth numbers, quite positive growth numbers for 2020. So that's the new filter. It's a genuine Royal Enfield part, very accessible. It was just, I think, under $10 or maybe $15. I'm not sure, but it was cheap. It also comes with a brand new gasket, and it has a date marked on it. It was produced in 2019, so I know it's a fresh filter. And these Himalayans, they're available for sale since 2016. So it's a relatively newer bike, and very, very popular, even though it has just a 411cc engine. So I get the bottom bolt started, and like I said, that's the longest one. That housing cap has a spring that pushes the filter inside. So talking about the US market for the Royal Enfield Himalayan, deliveries of the 2021 have started, even though it's happening at a trickle. So some of those people who pre-ordered the bike are receiving their bikes already. And as previously discussed on this channel and elsewhere, the 2021s have a couple of changes compared to the prior models. So one of the main things would be switchable ABS, and then you have a switch for the hazard warning light, and also I believe there's an improvement in the braking mechanism. These bikes actually have steel braided brake lines, hydraulic brake lines, but they tweaked the 2021 brakes, and they say they are more responsive. And hopefully someone with a 2021 and who has ridden a prior model will be able to chime in at some point. So we'll go ahead and snug up that cap. And again, just be mindful of how much force you use. Don't try to kill it, otherwise you will end up stripping your engine block, and that's no fun. Get it tight, get it snug, but don't go at it like it's the end times. Just be mindful. So pretty much with this oil change, all what I have left for this initial service would be to do the valve clearance check. When I bought the bike, my dealer gave me a quote. I believe it's about 157 for the initial service, which would have included the oil change and also the valve check. But they are about 6 hours away from me, so a round trip would be basically a 2-day affair. Take it there one day, then hang around town for them to do the work and possibly pick it up the next day. So it was a no-go for me. So after doing service like this, it's always recommended let the bike run for a little bit, drive it around your neighborhood, and bring it back, put it on the center stand, let it idle, and check for leaks. And after a little while, you can also check, make sure everything is still snug. So now it's time to pour in the fresh oil. Most people will put about 1 quart, 1.7 quarts of oil, which is about what I would do. And if you noticed, I put my filter in there dry. It's highly recommended to prime the filter by getting some oil in there on the filter element. That way when you start up your engine, it's not completely dry. But I have a way of doing it, and that's why I didn't bother with priming the oil filter. I have 2 different weights of oil. I have the 1550, and I think I have the 1040 also. So I will start with the 1040, which is a lighter weight. Winter out here tends to be quite brutal, so because of the lower temperatures, I want to start with a lighter weight oil. If I were somewhere like in Southern California or Florida, then I would definitely go straight with the 1550. But here I'm doing the 1040. Sorry, I'm not the, I don't have the steadiest hand. Clean up the mess. That's a very nice powder coat, or I don't know if it's just galvanization that they did, but I love the black anodized look on the Royal Enfield crankcase. So I cleaned up the side glass also. Right now you do not see the oil since it's still going through the engine and the passages and dropping down to the sump. So what I will do is I'll put in about 1.7 quarts and then crank the bike without actually starting it up. That way the oil gets through all the passages, and when I fire the bike up, it will actually have oil. So I did the 1040, I put in all of that full quart, and here I'll put in about more than 3/4. I'll put about 80% of that quart. Close that. And so far I'm pretty happy with my Royal Enfield Himalayan. It hasn't disappointed. It's performed above my expectations for a 400cc bike. I made an earlier video where I said the tail light, where I was showing out the differences between the local Indian market and the US market. I forgot to say the brake light in India for the BS6 model is LED, whereas in North America is a normal incandescent bulb. The brake light assembly. So turn on the key, crank the bike over without starting. Do that a couple of times just to get the oil circulating. And then after I'm done with that, then I'll go ahead and actually crank the bike. And now you can see the oil level. And pretty much that's what it takes to do the oil change. Took beginning to end, I would say about maybe 20 minutes. But I had some difficulty, of course, with the wind, and this being the first time that I did it. So once you're done with your oil change, you can take your bike out to explore the outdoors. Thanks for watching, and see you guys on the next video. Bye.